and a very good evening from Elmley, the 28th of August 2025. We have a packed one for you. We've got sparrowhawks, stoats, we've got red knots, plovers, barn swallows, marsh harriers, great white egrets, the lot. Stay tuned. So it's been really light on the birding front in UK, I guess, or especially in Kent. And I thought I want a big day out. I haven't been out for a few days. I'm feeling a bit down. I want to go for a big drive. And I thought, yeah, it's going to be Sheppey again because I know I'm going to get all the goodies. If I don't get anything rare, I'll get lots of content. I'll get lots of photos, loads of video. I'll be able to see waders, raptors, everything. So I only slept for about 5.5 hours. I normally sleep 8 or 9. I was so excited. You know the score. You're birders yourself. When you're that excited, you just want to get up and go out and you're just running on adrenaline. When I got into the reserve, the first thing, the barn swallows and the sand martins are still here in great numbers. And in the car park, they were flocking in the trees, they were on the wires. The sun was a bit bright to start with. So I tried taking some video to see what it was like, but the wind was too strong, the light was too strong. A juvenile barn swallow was on the railing right next to me on the gate, and it didn't move. I pulled up, I thought it's going to fly away. It didn't. So I got it out the window and it was chirping. I thought I'm definitely keeping this because anything unique I want for my library. So I caught the barn swallow and its chirp. There's got to be 40 kestrels I've seen today, 50, they are everywhere. I mean, when you see them in the winter and they're stealing prey off of short-eared owls and barn owls, you can see why they do so well. That little bird is incredible. I just filmed everything, anything that was worth filming when the heat haze wasn't too bad. I was getting them on the ground, on the top of posts, getting them hunting. I mean, my ideal bit of hunting footage would be on a tripod in no wind and getting them doing that steady head action where they lock their head perfectly. The gyros on that thing are incredible and they just keep locked onto whatever they're looking at on the ground. Yeah, that's coming. I've already got sort of a distant bit of footage of it, but soon I will get close up. I've seen it online and I wondered how people did it, and now I have the 3-way geared tripod head where I can adjust by millimeters any direction I want, get it right on the head and hope the bird sits there for about 20 or 30 seconds. So when I got into the reserve, first things was a buzzard doing its hovering thing. I think this is about the same time last year. I think it's a juvenile and it was hovering like a kestrel. Horrendous lighting, and again I'll be apologizing all through this vlog because the heat haze was terrible. The lighting was off and on all day. I did my best to get what decent footage I could. I was supporting my camera up against things to try and counteract the wind. But yeah, you'll see it. I mean, what I can do is film at 60 frames a second and slow it down 50%. That is going to help. But if it's good enough, it'll be included. It's not going to be. I'm not going to include anything rubbish unless it's a really rare bird. But I followed this buzzard around. It landed on the ground. It landed on a post. As you can see, my lens is hunting around in the heat haze. And I sat there for about 10 minutes waiting for this big cloud to come over and mask the sun from the bird so the heat haze would go. But no, it flew away before the cloud got there. And then the next up was a marsh harrier on the ground. And it looked like it was coming into adult plumage, and it was filling the frame in my 4K crop mode, but the heat haze was horrendous. I'm not going to know what this footage looks like. I'll be able to take out a few seconds there, a few seconds there to show you from the really heat hazy footage. So on the way out, I noticed the swallows were doing their thing alongside the car and the light was pretty good. I thought, okay, we'll spend half an hour with the dot sight and trying to get barn swallow photos. and they did. I didn't even have to drive. I just, this time I sat still in the cab and they flew around the cab, and I did pretty well. I got a couple of my best ever. The sunlight was hitting the black feathers at the back enough that it was illuminating all the detail rather than having it all just blacked out. So I left and headed to Hearty Ferry, and first things first, I was checking to see if these great egret were on not the swell, I nearly said the swell, the fleet. There's been reports of 18. Now I found 7 or 8 about 2 trips back, and apparently they're still there. I did see one in the distance, but the heat haze was too bad. I didn't bother filming, but I found this one off the Hearty Ferry Road. It came out of the water. I mean, it's a bit cloudy, so there's not too much heat haze. It's okay, it's usable for the record. I carried on up the Hearty Ferry Road to check the farmhouse end, and I thought, okay, I won't go any further. As I turned around, I saw a robin on the ground with a chaffinch, spun around, and as I was coming back along Hearty Ferry Road, a bird I thought was a female blackbird jumped on a post, and I whacked on the brakes, and it was not too far, but I was more tempted to drive closer. And I thought, no, the rule is get some video of it. It might be something unusual, something rare. Sure enough, not rare, but it was unusual. It was a sparrowhawk. Any sparrowhawk footage is okay by me, and it wasn't spooked by me. I mean, what was I, maybe 20 meters away, enough that it wasn't too spooked. It had its back to me, but it did turn its head a couple of times. And then this no public access path, which I remember first seeing red-legged partridge down just after the lockdowns were lifted. There were loads in there, and then for subsequent years I would come back and didn't see them. Today, there was about 30 or 40 in there, so that was fantastic. It's good to see them. Yep, you can see lots of heat haze, but yeah, lots running around in there, having dust baths. Awesome. And yeah, they were out in the fields picking off insects. So many birds of different species in the fields, all the moorhens, coots, black-headed gulls, herring gulls, wood pigeon, crows. And just before I left Hearty Ferry, glad I did this second trip up and down the road, a bird flew across the path in front of me. I knew immediately what it was because of the white stripe on the back of it, and it was a female wheatear. Now it went into the muddy field, which made it pretty much camouflaged. Luckily it did move, and my eyes are trained after all these years to see bird movement. So I got my camera on it, and it was horrendous at first because the wind was blowing through the window of the cab, but I thought, just get the record footage to start with, which I did. And then I put the window up and maneuvered so that the back of the cab was facing the wind. And then I shut my window on my side. And I was able to get a little bit better footage. But I think I got it. But it's only record stuff. I mean, I've got far better footage, but it's good to see a sparrowhawk followed by a wheatear. That's all going on the list. It's bulking up my list. So I think we were done there, and then headed off to Sheerness Beach first. Looked out to sea, and I could see birds in the distance that I knew weren't black-headed gulls. I got a few pictures, and they were juvenile sandwich terns, but later on I was to discover there were loads on Shellness Beach, so no panic. But there were record shots, and when I got to Shellness Beach, it really kicked off. Just before I headed down to Shellness, I looked over the wall again and saw some birds that I knew were going to be turnstone, 3 or 4 of them, and I noticed there was a dog in a caravan, and I thought, I hope I don't get out and that dog's a bit aggressive. But it wasn't for me. I got out and the dog chased the turnstones away. I mean, okay, they made for some good photographs as they flew in a flock across the water, and I can be guilt-free that I never scared them off to get that flight shot, which is a bad thing that people do. You know, one of those etiquette things you shouldn't be doing. It's always handy. That's the good thing about dog walkers, is I'll give them a pass when they actually scare the bird off. Thank you very much. So as I headed down to the Shellness Beach, I noticed birds flying in, and there must have been 100 to start with, curlew. I was only seeing the tops of their heads, and they were with a flock of little egrets. And then gradually, as I walked further to Shellness Beach, more and more came in, and I was able to get better angles. Again, I'll try and clean up this footage, slow it down to take out the few seconds here and there that are watchable. Again, none of this is, a lot of the footage from today is just to show on the vlog. I'll be deleting a lot of this after I make the vlog. Like some footage, if it's tripod footage and really well lit, I'll edit it, crop it and keep it for my library. But a lot of today will just go in the bin. It'll just be to provide you with some entertainment, as it were. So down to Shellness Beach finally. very windy. The tide was in. I timed it well. I checked the tide times before I got there, and it said the tide was in at 4 o'clock, and it was great. Grey plover, male. Haven't got many of those. It's always the female or juvenile plumage or the winter plumage. So this is great. I got loads of photos of those, loads of videos of those flight shots. They were pretty tame, I must say. The ones on posts, I would have liked to have got closer, but you would have to have walked on the sand, the shells and the reeds, and there could be eggs in there, so don't do that. And unfortunately, when I got there, there's a blue rope that says don't go past this blue rope. No dogs, no people, nothing, and there was a photographer over there. Very disappointed. I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions and find out that it's something to do with counting birds. I'm not sure, but I'm sure he wasn't supposed to be there. He only had a camera and a lens. It looked like the 100 to 500 Canon, and he was just taking pictures. So yeah, don't do that, people, please. You know, it was, I mean, there's thousands of birds there, oyster catchers. They were distant. I'll show you the footage, probably 1,000 oyster catcher. They're always on this section, this scrape, this bit of beach by the swale. They didn't go up flying, but all the other birds did. And so I'm just going to overlay loads of different stuff in no particular order. There were lots of common ring plover. There were probably little ring plover in there as well. Last time I was here, I was getting photos of little ring plover, and I didn't know they were little ring plover because they were in juvenile plumage. So I'll have to look at some of the photos in the video that you're seeing and check if there were any little ring plovers in there too. But examining some of the footage, I could see that there were dunlin in there for sure, dunlin in there for sure, and then whiter birds without the black tummy equals sanderling. Excellent. So the number of species were going up like crazy. And I wanted to see some knot. So I was examining all the birds. I was, you know, putting my camera on the 4K crop mode, zooming in on flocks and checking each bird individually. In the meantime, anything that was taking off and flying around, there were constant flocks, and I'd flick between normal video, slow-mo video, and photos, because I want to come away with some photos, and it's easier to examine the photos because they're a bit more higher resolution than video for any unusual birds, any individual birds in there, for adding to the species list. And the nice surprise was there was a flock, and as I was firing away at it, I noticed they were slightly red, and I thought, are those a flock of dunlin? They seem to be very red. I went, whoa, hang on a second. Could they be red knot? And I checked the photos afterwards, and I can't say I'm 100% on my knots, but they look like knots. I'm pretty sure they were knots. And the funny story about the red knot is I got it early as a lifer back in, I think, 2020 on Reculver Beach. And so it was on my life list. I got it. And for a couple of years, 2-3 years, I was saying to people, oh yeah, I need to find a knot. So I've come to Shellness Beach and hope to see a knot because it's going to go on my list. I need a red knot, so I just need an ordinary knot. They say they're, and then the birders told me, mate, they're the same thing. It's just in different plumage. I went, okay. So when I got the ordinary knot, it wasn't a lifer, and it wasn't the big deal I thought it was going to be because, yeah, I already had the red knot. And I think if I recall from the photo, which you're seeing in the videos, there is one, maybe two ordinary whitish grey knots in there without the red plumage. So I got some videos of those, and then it's turned out that they started flying with the grey plover. So I can't wait to see all these photos. You're hearing the vlog and seeing all the photos and videos after I edited them, and this is how I work, unfortunately. Has to be done while I'm at Elmley. It's all fresh in my brain. So I get the surprise later tonight when I get home and start editing. But that was a great day. We added a lot of species at that point. And then there were things like meadow pipits. I heard those went on the list. There was something else that had no streaks. It was very thin. It was wagtail-like, but not wagtail, or not a wagtail. And it was kind of trying to hide in the reeds. I couldn't quite get a photo of it. So I don't know what that was. My brain couldn't compute what species it would be. You know how sometimes you can tell a bird by the silhouette, even just where it is. It's on the ground, it's on a post, it's in a tree, the way it's flying, its behavior. You can just go, oh, that's going to either be this bird or that bird, or it's only going to be this bird. This one, I couldn't figure it out. So I got back to the cab just before 6 o'clock. Gate was still open, phew. Drove back, checked out to see nothing happening, and then another sweep of Hearty Ferry Road. 2 new birds to the list. I nearly said lifers. A bird took off that I knew immediately was a green sandpiper. They're always the birds that take off. When I went round to leave, I could see a bird on the top of a pole, and I thought that's either a dunnock or a stonechat. Sure enough, it was, I think that's a young male stonechat. I think it's a male stonechat. I'm trying to recall. Don't quote me on that. All the plumages are slightly here and there as we go from summer to winter, so I might get a few things wrong. But those 2 went on the list. Outs come through. I'm just trying to think. I went down to the gun, got back to Elmley, went down to the gun club for another check. Nothing but the kestrel down there. Swallows and house martins still flying around. Came in and there was a kestrel on the ground. Marsh harriers flying around. And I saw a magpie and I went, my brain just said, that's not even on the list yet, is it? So the common bird of the magpie. So that went on and that got me up to 47. And we're hoping for a last minute barn owl because the sun's going to be gone. I can see it on the horizon in about 15 minutes. I think the sun sets at 5 to 8. So just a little bit of non-birding stuff. I've seen 4 stoats today, missed them all. The 4th one, while I was at the cab in the car park, ran into the reeds by the pond. And I went, oh no, I've missed it again. I had the camera ready and it came out. There was harsh shadows and harsh sunlight, but I've got some usable stuff there. It's okay, I think it's in focus. And then on the track, this hare started running across like crazy, really tearing across the grass. And I flicked to slow-mo, my custom function 2. I have it all set up for slow-mo. And thank goodness I'm on the ball with my settings. I had it ready for the exposure that we had, the sunlight levels. And I got about 2 sections of slow-mo, 120 frames per second footage. Great. All adds to the flavor. I'm really happy with that. So a pretty packed day. Never lets me down. I mean, that many species, normally 60 in the winter, but I'll take today. That was really good. Couple of little pluses there that I really enjoyed, like the wheat ear and the red knots, fantastic. And then those photos of the swallow. Just, yeah, every time. I'm just getting as many of those swallow photos while I can before they migrate back to Africa. I don't think there's anything else. Please like and subscribe. Loads coming in the future. I'm really sort of doubling down and trying to get loads of content, podcasts, bird news, camera workings, there's microphone reviews, equipment reviews. Yeah, just bringing tons and tons of content your way. Hope you enjoyed. I'll speak to you next time.